All right, what's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. We've got some sun, we've got some noise. We do it as we do, raw, real, blunt, bold. Check it out. We've got this video here titled How Clothing Affects Speaking. I'll talk about it because it does, right? Articulating our words, our jaw sitting in its natural position. We talk about the jaw a lot under In The Image Clothing Company, and the tongue with that nice suction lightly to the roof of the mouth, keeping everything centered. We'll get into it, okay? Speaking is affected by our clothing, okay? The jaw stabilizes the entire body. Hey, clothing affects the entire body in the ways that it does. I'll do it as I do. Talk about each of the four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. We'll talk about where clothing sits, and then I'll really get into this discussion on speaking. And one thing you can notice is that I can articulate my words well. Just as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, we do so much under video on all four sides of us. And, you know, especially In The Image Clothing Company podcast, I just speak for hours at a time often there. So you can hear that I can articulate my words well. I can speak very well, like audibly wise. Not only can I speak well, like put words together well, but the actual forming of the words, speaking is just a physical thing. So we'll get into it, okay? In The Image Clothing Company's main side, that's where we are here. We allow the human body to work. That's our key phrase. We allow the body to work through clothing. The body has a centered line, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally is stabilizing the entire body on Earth's gravity, and there's a center to Earth's gravity. So these things have to mesh. We do that by the clothing that we wear staying centered, fitting correct, where I'll discuss here in a minute, and being made from 100% natural materials. The human body is only natural, okay? We talk about eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, but everything we do as a human being and natural, neutral, normal are synonyms within the human body and what we discuss here. So unnatural materials in clothing often bring stretch with them. First off, they're just only decades old as of today's date, but they also will go the opposite direction of the only way muscles could ever work if they're stretching. All musculature within the body only contracts, meaning getting shorter. That's just how the body works, okay? Musculature, yeah, the fibers and the, you know, the firings and the nerve endings, they come together. That's how the body really works. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space, and there's neutrals to every joint, okay? Like the wrist, easy to show on camera. There's a neutral, and then all the motion outside of there, including a neutral to internal versus external rotation, okay? And there's rotations throughout the body stemming from the center line where the musculature connects, from the outside of the shoulder to the sternum in the front on both sides, and from the outside of the shoulder to the spine on the rear on both sides, center line to the body, okay? No opinion, just is what it is. We've got to keep our clothing centered, so free modifications that we have under In The Image Clothing Company, we show under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company to keep things like our collars centered, right? Keeping collars centered, a video we have under our main side of In The Image Clothing Company. But all clothing, right, has to stay on our bodies correct. The only way that it works, okay? So there you go. That's a lot of what we do on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. And then clothing on InTheImageClothingCompany.com. I say our company name a lot for a reason, okay? So you remember it. Now, secondary side, no specific order, but another one of our fourths, In The Image Clothing Company poodles. This is actually slobber, if you will, you know, saliva from either a labradoodle or a golden doodle. I'm almost certain it's a labradoodle named Hilo. I was just at the shelter actually, and I made a video that will be titled Keeping Less Dogs in Shelters and More Dogs at Homes. One of the big things I talk about that we do under In The Image Clothing Company poodles and advocate for, and how to have that be the case. I was at the shelter here, South Utah Valley Animal Shelter here in the state of Utah, the United States of America, where we're based. And I was hanging out with this dog, and he got some saliva on my shirt. But we specialize in purebred standard poodles, and that's what we do, is advocate for being a good owner of dogs, keeping dogs just dogs, right? Really, our phrase is letting dogs stay natural. The same thing as allowing the body to work for human beings, but we phrase it different because it's a distinct side to In The Image Clothing Company. So we breed poodles, standard size. We register them properly under the American Kennel Club, advocating for doing that because when we give our dogs birth certificates, they're registered. And then that's how we can keep dogs at homes easier, one of the ways. You know, microchipping dogs, another thing we advocate for. This dog over here, he didn't have a microchip in him, almost certainly. I didn't ask, but Otherwise you can almost certainly get your dog back to its home, or whatever dog you find back to their home, when you can scan the microchip placed into the dog between its shoulder blades, right? The little tiny grain of rice size microchip, and then have the information of the owner attached to that number, okay? So we advocate for a lot of good things with dogs, and there you go, okay? Poodle parade events here in the state of Utah. Beautiful mountains, beautiful nature. We'll do them in the mountains. We'll do them at parks. We'll do them in river areas and in water. Just hanging out with our dogs. Bring your purebred poodles of any size or poodle mixes of any size, and I'll give information on letting dogs stay natural where I do, but there will be different categories of poodle parade events. Some of them will just be fun, right? Just like family reunions basically, and just hanging out, okay? So stick around, check out what we do under there, because that's a huge part of In the Image Clothing Company, is what we do through poodles. And the information we give on letting dogs stay natural, and the products we have under InTheImageClothingCompany.com, collars, leashes, harnesses, those type of things to keep dogs unaltered by what we place on them, like what we do for our human being clothing, apply to all dogs, right? Except for very specific information for poodles, like grooming or temperament-wise things that would be just poodle specific. Our information is just for dog owners and their dogs across the earth, okay? In the Image Clothing Company poodles. That's a lot of what we do there. We have In the Image Clothing Company podcast, where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We get into it in depth. We've got 164 episodes as of last night of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, where we discuss the gospel of Jesus Christ. We just are all human beings. We're placed on the same earth. We have one God. We discuss him there as he says that he is, although never doing it perfect, because we're imperfect, okay? But check it out. Some deep insights on life, just as it is. It applies to everybody, because we're all the same, okay? With our very slight differences. So, In the Image Clothing Company music is another one of our forwards. A lot of what I do is show the sizing and setup of guitars to not alter things like that neutral wrist, okay? And I just make music as well. Do a lot of lyricism geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ that I place on In the Image Clothing Company music. Things like Metronome Madness, where I go off the top with spoken word poetry. You could call it rap. So there you go, okay? Little rundown of each of the four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. Now, where clothing sits, this is what I'm getting to with this, right? It really affects the ability to speak. The location of the jaw, where it sits, because there's a neutral to everything, and the jaw is stabilizing the entire body. And we'll get into that. But our pants that we wear have a waistband. We have a natural waist. Above our hips entirely, but below those lowest ribs, where we actually bend side to side at our spine, that's our natural waist. That's where our pants sit, with the waistband height, and then slightly higher in the front than the rear, just so that we can keep our musculature activated and keep our body vertical and neutral on Earth's gravity. We have tops that we wear. The seams on top of our shoulders need to sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders. Our shoulders only ever work behind our head. That's just where they mechanically connect. And so, well, the shoulders follow shoulder seams, and there you go. Okay, the edge seams of our top should be as close to the edges of the functionality of the shoulder joint that we can get. It's a shoulder joint and a joint of material. Should be in the same location, so we don't alter the body, trying to work around our tops. Two things we have as prerequisites under In the Image Clothing Company. Firstly, shoelacing. It's just ropes. There's also only one way the human feet are shaped. Muscles, ligaments, tendons, bones, gripping arches inward, opposing the center line, keeping us vertical on Earth's gravity, with neutrals traveling up from there to the tip of the head and the tips of the fingers. In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is actually the only way you can shape a weave of a rope across the top of the feet and not alter their workings. And that would alter the whole body if we altered the feet. And it does. And it did till I was 24, when I was tying shoes unevenly. Okay, so in addition, actually, to just having shoes laced however they came, almost in every case, certainly incorrect. There's a big dog, golden doodle, as far as I can tell. You might have seen him, black, because this loops around. Cool. In the Image Clothing Company poodles. We tie shoes though as well. We have to tie our shoes evenly over toward the center line on both feet, just because there is one. Otherwise we have rotation issues, like I did till I was 24 years old, causing chronic patterning and scar tissue throughout the body. Same thing with imbalanced clothing and oversized clothing. That's what we do here. We get out of these patternings, these built up scar tissue problem areas in the body, from the right-handed world, right? There's a lot that we talk about. We live in a right-handed world. There's a lot that we talk about. Let's get into this and I'll discuss more of what I do there if I do about the right-handed world, but right, that's what we talk about. 85% give or take of the population of human beings are right-handed. Clothing patterns themselves, in a sense, are right-handed. Being right-hand dominant, your clothing will fall off to your right side, pulling on your musculature, rotating your right side external, dropping it farther away from your body. It will be pulled, and then we've got damage through the whole body. This can happen through drawstrings, through shoelacing, to the right rather than even, right? How drawstrings affect body mechanics under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. And the slipped lap knot. Tie the tail end toward the center and keep those drawstrings horizontal, right? Anyway, we talk about a lot, but what I'll talk about here is the jaw, as we do, right? Workouts don't help the jaw, a video we have under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. The mechanics of the human jaw, another video we have under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. Eating and drinking with the left hand, another video we have under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. And really that just means non-dominant hand, because our teeth naturally will just wear down. They're just grinding food together between them. Friction will just wear down the teeth. And if we're always eating with one side of our body, having that side lean off to the right for 85%, give or take, of the population of human beings on the earth, and we're externally rotating to eat here at the forearm, right, traveling to the shoulder, rather than internal rotation, and really ideally a neutral, which just relies in the center of those two, right? External, away from the body, internal to the center of the body. Okay, the importance of even forearm rotations, a video we have under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. The importance of even height shoulders, a video we have under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. So a lot of these things will go into the jaw, okay? What happens when you eat with the left hand, or really just meaning non-dominant, if you are left-handed, try to eat with your right as well, is we need to keep our jaw able to track in line. Everything in the body has a neutral. Couldn't say it too much because it's the truth, and it's a very important thing to always focus on, because that's how we need to always be, is in our neutrals, okay? Neutrals in everything in the body, okay? So the jaw is no different, but it has musculature that starts here at the lower jawbone, and it comes up between the eyes and the ears to the crown of the head. If you can see the musculature flexing, okay. If not, well, it's all the way up here to the crown of the head. Musculature, okay? Jaw musculature. We've got about 160, give or take, pounds per square inch of jaw bite force as human beings. That means every square inch, it's about this big, right? You could put 160 pounds down on that and bite, right? So there's a lot of force there. There's a lot of stabilization happening, not only for the head, because it's on top of the whole body, but for the whole body. You step or you walk or you balance and you notice you clench or tense your jaw up, right? As I show when I flex the musculature in my neck that's going up into my jaw. When I talk about the importance of keeping collar centered, watch this musculature in my collar here through my neck, okay? The jaw really does a lot for the body. We talk about the jaw so often. I say it in the intros when I talk about the center line of the body. And I specify that it stabilizes, okay? So if we don't have our jaw in the center, if we're not eating centered, not only with your non-dominant hand as well as your dominant hand, but try to really actually eat centered, right? Keep your tongue in the center. Open your mouth right in the center. Chew centered with your head vertical, and just be centered, right? Why eating wears you out is actually a video I made right over there under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. And that's one of the big things, we need to stay centered when we eat, because we're just working these muscles big time. Chewing food, okay? The muscles of the whole side of our head, but also the muscles down into our shoulders and throughout our whole body when we eat. So clothing, just an imbalanced collar alone, we've got a lot of things that could imbalance the collar, right? In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, when there's a seam in the collar of the top that needs to sit evenly around our neck, well, that seam is imbalanced. If it's there, it's just only in one little location, and the rest of the collar can move freely, and then where the seam is, it's at least twice as thick, okay? So we need to keep our collars centered, but we need to keep our shoulder seams at the right location, because as we're eating food and our musculature is being potentially trained, meaning into an incorrect position if the jaw's not tracking in line, and our teeth are being potentially worn into an imbalance just from grinding food, with our jaw not sitting centered over our body's center line, meshing with Earth's center of gravity, vertical, then our jaw just won't mesh well, right? We've got oversized clothing, let's say, falling off to one side, and now this musculature that connects from the jaw and the tendons and everything holding the shoulders to the jaw or the jaw to the shoulders that are stabilizing as we're doing things, you know, even with our arms, you're pulling and your jaw tenses. And it's going down into your shoulders. I sounded like a dog, and guess what? In the Image Clothing Company poodles, you know, you're playing tug of war with your dog, and same thing. Dogs' jaws stabilize their entire body. We talk about keeping dog collars centered for the exact same reason as what I'm saying in this video for human beings. No joke, right? That's as real as it gets. As I say, it's as obvious as it is once you see it as well, right? These phrases I say under In the Image Clothing Company. Yes. So the jaw needs to be in the center, and all this going into connecting just the jaw and the whole head to the shoulders, stabilizing our body, and just this ball that is our human head that's about 10, 15, give or take pounds on top of us, with Earth's gravity pulling down on us all the time, air pressure pushing down on us all the time from Earth's atmosphere, right? It's as real as it is. We need to keep our tops evenly at the edges of our shoulders. We have a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company titled "Tops Are Like a Cage for the Shoulders." I feel like I'm rapping sometimes. I'm like on tempo as I'm just speaking, you know? I'm like feeling out the tempo at least. If our edge seams of our tops are uneven, then the musculature and all of the things connecting the shoulders to the jaw, connecting the collarbones to the jaw, connecting the scapula to the jaw, connecting the humerus to the jaw, which is the upper arm bone, connecting our upper ribs to our jaw, and our whole body that just contracts and connects with the musculature to the centered line of the human being, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and the jaw. All of these things are very much incorporated with just the jaw's motion, okay? Well, it's the whole body. It's stabilizing that, the entire thing. The jaw is so huge. It's so huge. I feel like a little kid. Like, I'm so humbled by it when I talk about how real these things are, because oversized tops you'll always eat with just the side of your body that the top is falling off to, because you can't contract that musculature to use the other side, right? Just because we have to stay over our center of gravity if the top is just falling off of our shoulders, okay, on one side. And it just happens. And then if you have a collar that's just sitting unevenly around your neck, as you open your jaw, the musculature will just move to one side or the other, because there's just more freedom of movement where the top's not sitting on your neck. And being right-handed, that'll just be your right side. You'll open your jaw and the musculature can just move easier when the collar's not against it, if the collar's falling off to the right side of your neck. I love the visuals. I love the gift of video, as I word it. It's amazing. Okay, this is In the Image Clothing Company. This is what we really do. It's about the human body. The main side of In the Image Clothing Company is, man, we discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth. You know, we've got a lot of videos talking about just the body alone, where we don't even really mention clothing all that much. You know, we still, that is the case. Yes, that is true. It's about the human body, just allowing the body to work. So we place clothing on us, though. That's the point. If we never did, the body would never be restricted by something that was placed on it if nothing was placed on it. I mean, it's as real as it gets, okay? Now, this is the big thing. If our jaw's not centered and not tracking up and down evenly, then we have our tongue sitting in the bed of our teeth of the lower jaw. Okay, yikes. And it needs to sit there centered, because when we speak, it's just an audible thing that we're hearing from a physical operation. It's just the jawbone moving. The lower jawbone starts here right at the top of the ears, comes down, right? And it barely clears this sternocleidomastoid muscle that we talk about often under In the Image Clothing Company, right? Under the importance of even, those type of videos we have under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, the importance of even sternocleidomastoid insertions, where this muscle inserts right here behind the ears. And the lower jaw just barely clears that to keep our bodies vertical, okay, on Earth's gravity. And if we have, anything altering our jaw's position, well, we can't do this physical motion that is speaking. That's all speaking is. It's just a physical operation. The tongue is moving and touching the roof of the mouth. And, you know, when we make like TH sounds, like it's touching the rear of the upper teeth. The jaw is moving to form vowels. And all of this has to just track in line because there's just musculature on both sides of the jaw. Okay? This is just how the body is. There's a center line to it. We have to stay vertical. We have to stay centered. We have to stay even. We have to just let the winds of change happen. Raw, real, blunt, bold, In the Image Clothing Company. Okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. And in a modern man-made 2025 and going forth, right? In the world, made by mankind, placed onto God's natural earth, it's really hard. Meaning it takes a lot of intentionality to stay centered, to allow your body to work. You have to actually be very intentional. You have to do a lot of stuff, actually. I mean, you have to put a lot of focus on things that you just wouldn't otherwise do if you want to be free to move, free to operate. If you want your body to work the only way God designed it to ever be able to work. And there's only one way it ever could. We didn't design it. We can't decide it. An episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. God did. He designed our human bodies in the image of Jesus Christ, hence In the Image Clothing Company's 5-word name as a whole. So, the jaw. We need to eat centered. We need our collars centered. We need our shoulder edge seams at the edges of our shoulders, right where that joint is, as close as we can get it to just meshing where the shoulder will move. We need to keep tops waisted, okay? Keeping tops waisted. A video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. We need to keep any ropes that we introduce to the body even, okay? How drawstrings affect body mechanics under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. I talked about that in this video. I already referenced that for you. In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, I talk about it when I talk about where clothing sits. It's one of our 2 prerequisites. Removing all tags from clothing. I didn't say that in this. That's our 2nd prerequisite. After we lace and tie our shoes correct, we remove all tags from clothing because they're one of those things like stretch and unnatural materials in clothing that are only decades old. Anywhere a tag's placed in our clothing, it's either causing a physical gap, changing the body's only working position, and or it just doesn't allow musculature to activate, and then the body's trying to compensate for something not being able to do its job, but everything has a role to play in the body and it can't make up for another role of something else because that's just not how it works. It only works activated as a whole, as if it was just unrestricted. It's designed to work. Actually, another episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast's title, Designed to Work. The human body, right? Just a mechanical machine. And the jaw has to be able to stay centered, okay? The importance of even nostrils. Man, and I could talk about it. You know, we get into all the things we talk about. We've got hundreds of videos as of today's date under just the main side of In the Image Clothing Company alone. All very, very intentional. So check it out. Check out what we do because speaking is just a physical thing. And I didn't used to be able to articulate my words well. I didn't used to be able to keep my jaw closed because my oversized clothing was pulling down on my shoulders. Here comes the wind again. Not only do the shoulders have a neutral left to right, contraction-wise from the center of the body, and not only forward to back, where those scapulas or those big bones on the upper back will sit, but the shoulders have a neutral, well, not only in their rotations either, that stem from the pinky all the way up to the shoulder, because the hand is essentially the shoulder, as the feet are essentially the hips, but the shoulders have a neutral height. Neutral here, where I am, just naturally in life, because I allow my body to work. As the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, I practice what I preach. Really, I preach what I have practiced, right? An episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast title. But here in their neutral, they can go down, back to neutral, and up, and back to neutral. And the big thing with the shoulders is that they connect to the jaw. At least the big thing for this video. The shoulders are big regardless. There's only one way they could ever work. But the neutral height to our shoulders will cause a neutral in other things as well. But the shoulders connect to the jaw. Like I was showing, you can actually visually see this. Okay. And so if our shoulders are being pulled down from an oversized top, then you won't be able to articulate your words because you can't lift your jaw up to close your mouth all the way because things are just being pulled on, connecting from the shoulders up to the jaw. Okay? So, yeah, in all seriousness, so it's huge. This is what I mean. It's as real as it gets. Clothing is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. We discuss it as it is. There's no opinion. It's not just because we have a clothing company, we sell good clothing. It really is the actual answer. Truly. Okay. So, yeah. We need to keep our mouth closed, right? Our lower jaw is the only thing that moves. As far as the upper jaw and the lower jaw, the upper jaw is the skull. Okay? But the lower jaw moves and it hinges. Okay? And so, yeah, it's basically right where my beard is cut. I know my beard's not like so cleanly trimmed around it right now, but where this longer part of my beard is, that's the lower jaw bone. And so we need to have our, man, this is so huge. We need to be able to close our mouth, okay? A lot of people will get so thirsty all the time because they can't. I don't want it to be weird, but I want to show it as it is. When your shoulders drop, you can't actually suction your tongue to the roof of your mouth. And naturally, when we just rest our jaw, the tongue just sits right at the roof of the mouth, right behind the upper teeth. It just suctions lightly to the roof of the mouth. And it keeps the mouth moist, you know? If people walk around and they're breathing through their mouth all the time, well, look at their shoulders, right? Look at their oversized top that they're almost certainly wearing. Or look down at their shoe lacing or shoe tying and collapsing their feet arches, and then that collapses, right, their whole body from there up. Shoulders will drop. The hand arches will not be able to be there either, and everything will be out of its neutrals, right? Good fingernails and toenails, fully to the tips of both the fingers and the toes. Cut relatively flat on the tips. You can round the corners, but we want to be locked in to that neutral position without rolling around out of that neutral wrist or neutral gripped arch. But these are all the things that really go into being able to speak, okay, directly from tops, and that's a more obvious thing just because it's closer to the jaw. But yes, shoelacing, like I'm saying, collapsing your feet arches, you won't be able to lift your body up because the height of a gripped arch. A video we have under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, when arches in the feet grip, first of all, watch the neutral here at the wrist versus when I grip inward. Now it's neutral, straight out from that pinky finger, from the forearm, just like the neutral feet, straight out from the pinky toes when those arches grip well. But with the feet rise, and they actually have height to them that they gain when an arch grips. And so if our feet are within lacing that's collapsing our arches, we can't even lift our lower jaw to match our skull, which is just the upper jaw, okay? There's a lot to this, and it's the whole body. And then if you've got any ropes, shoelaces, or drawstrings rotating the body, your jaw will just be off to the right. And you won't be able to have that nice suction of the tongue in the center where there's just like this arch on the roof of your mouth, which is actually your skull shaping, right? And you have like this palate on the roof of your mouth, this like just tissue between the actual bone of the skull and your open mouth area. Yeah, I mean, it's as real as it gets. So we have to just have the body always, in every sense of anything, residing in its neutrals. Okay, unless we're really doing something very specific, we come back to our neutrals. And yeah, the jaw, it's in the center. It stabilizes. It goes into breathing, eating, speaking. You know, a lot of things in the body, the jaw really affects. And so speaking is only just formation of an open space in the mouth and air. Okay, carbon dioxide, really. We breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. But having a nicely contracted core, that's another thing. You probably just about never hear me clear my throat or cough or sniffle, right? Like in air through my nose. As the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, I mean, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of hours as of today's date alone, just so much time documented of me just speaking. The way that I can speak so well is, I mean, like actually physically, not just the way that I know how to speak well, like put words together. That's a separate gift from God, seriously, and I discuss it as that deeply because it is. But you know, the way I'm able to physically form words and have breath control and have volume to my voice and speak with resonance, not just the depth of the tone of my voice, but actual like power behind my voice. You hear some people sometimes and they're like talking and it's like they can't get their words out very well. Well, what I did there actually was collapse my feet arches and point my feet out into external rotation. And that travels up, it takes your pelvis and turns it anterior, meaning forward, leaning in the front, deactivates your core muscles, which means your abdominal muscles here, but your hamstrings in the rear of your body. It moves your shoulders forward out of their only neutral position into more external rotation and travels through the whole body. And you just don't have control over your own body and its neutral positions. And contraction of your diaphragms. There's both diaphragms in the core, okay? Waistbands of pants need to be in the correct location, winds of change. And then there's diaphragms in your neck as well, oversized collars, okay? Pulling on all this musculature and not allowing the diaphragms of the neck to do their thing. Speaking is a physical thing. Maybe obvious to some people. Maybe it's something you've never thought about. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe you're like, very aha right now, like, oh wow, I didn't realize, I never really thought about it like that. Well, it is. T's. You hear people speaking, you know, and not very well sometimes, and not to be mean, but just meaning they can't actually form their words very well. T's are hard for a lot of people to say. So are D's. Anything where the tongue touches the roof of the mouth. That's what I mean. If the tongue is up here and your shoulders are neutral, well, meaning those things will correlate. Your tongue will be able to move throughout the whole mouth in the ways that it needs to if your shoulders are neutral. If your shoulders are dropped, your tongue is not, it's just a muscle. It's a very strong muscle, and it's actually long. I mean, your tongue isn't just what's in your mouth. It kind of comes back down into your throat to a degree, right? I don't want to claim that I know the exact anatomy of where the rear of the tongue inserts, because I don't as of right now, but it's a very strong muscle. And that's what we're using when we form words, is our tongue, as well as the motion of our lower jaw, as well as contracting our abdomen to squeeze what really is carbon dioxide out of our lungs through our trachea in the center of our body, the center of our neck, and out of our mouth. It's a physical thing, speaking. I can speak very well. I am so grateful. I pray gratitude for the gift of being able to speak. I express it and I talk about it under In The Image Clothing Company podcast often. As of today's date, that's all In The Image Clothing Company is videos with me speaking in them. And many hundreds of them. But I love it. I'm very good at speaking. And now my body's able to form words well as well. it wasn't able to quite so well in the past. I was wearing oversized clothing. I was tying my shoes unevenly. I did have heels on my shoes. Check this out. You elevate your feet off the ground. Your body's still on Earth's gravity, and so it still has to snake front to back now because you're just tipping it forward. And now your jaw is not sitting in a neutral location, and so you just won't be able to form words the way that we form words as human beings, and it just won't sound well. If that's how you word that, it won't sound good, right? It won't sound crisp, articulate. That's what that word means, is words that sound very like properly spoken. You know, like the T's get hit hard and well, and the D's, you know, where you can actually be distinct with your words, and they can actually be very clear, and people can hear them better, and that's good, you know, and people will take you more seriously as well. You know, I mean, we're all equals, but to a degree, a lot of time people won't really give somebody the time of day, depending on who it is, if that's the attitude they have toward that person, if they don't feel like they can speak very well. They're like, you probably don't even know what you're talking about. But if you can actually articulate your words well, you just sound more put together because you're physically, mechanically more, watch this, put together. I mean, like actually in line, like legitimately, as if you like created a mechanical machine and put it together properly. That's what I mean. Okay, speaking as a physical thing, it comes from clothing, and sorry, there was something in my mouth there, actually. There's only one way the human body can ever work, okay? There's a lot going on with speaking. It's the jaw, it's the nose, breathing, it's the whole musculature of all the face. We talk about that, you know, scar tissue that gets built up on the right side of the body because of the right-handed world. It's all on the right side of the face because, well, if you're an arch gripped distance lower on the right side in like uneven shoe tying to the right, no joke, I had a harder time thinking when I collapsed my right arch and my body was like uncentered. And you can hear it in my voice as well, you know, it changes things because the trachea or the voice box in the throat, something I didn't mention yet, is something that just vibrates chords of flesh, right? Just meaning there's flesh in the throat, like chords, and when the carbon dioxide gets blown over those, they vibrate, and that's actually what makes the sound. And then we form what that sound is shaped like in our mouth and, you know, sinus area and in our head, right? So we need to be able to scrunch the nose, get all the cartilage off the nose here. When I say cartilage, I mean scar tissue that's built up there within the cartilage and, you know, the area of the nose, placing glasses on the body. That can make it harder to speak because you can't lift your face muscles, okay? Anything that clothes the human being is clothing, glasses. They're on you, okay? Things in the ears, changing the position of the jaw. The ears are just a gap between the rear jawbone here, and the skull. Actually, that insertion to the muscle, the sternocleidomastoid, that then comes down and connects to the collarbone and the sternum. Okay, it splits off right down here. So anyway, the shoulders only work behind the head. That's another thing. We get into it. This video only needs to be what it needs to be for right now. We'll talk about this. I'm in this for life. Evan Strong as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. But there you go, okay? Speaking is a physical thing. It comes from clothing. The ability to, how clothing affects speaking. That's probably how I'll word it. Yeah, nice and simple. Okay, there you go, right? Just as I say when I make these videos, there's more that I could say than I do say in these. But as I just said a minute ago there, not even quite a minute probably ago from now, I'm in this for life, okay? And the big thing with correlating what I'm saying here to dogs under another fourth of us, In The Image Clothing Company poodles, is barking. Okay, our collars can be pulling on our necks. Dogs that just have uncomfortable collars on them, it's kind of like having your mouth constantly open because you're pulling down on your shoulders or your neck from a collar or shoulder seams or any clothing for us human beings. But dogs will normally only be wearing a collar around their neck as the only clothing they have on them. But a lot of times people can't shut their mouth, and I mean that physically. Literally, they can't raise their shoulders, and so they can't close their jaw, and then they'll blabber. And people will be talking so often, and they're like, sorry, I don't know why I can't stop talking, you know? I mean, yeah, you can have that come from nervousness, but, or anything. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that go into that. I mean, we talk about those type of things, behavioral type things, in ways on In the Image Clothing Company podcast. But as far as physically, if you can't close your own physical mechanics of your human jaw, then you probably will just speak. Because if you're hanging your jaw open like this, your shoulders being pulled down and your body being uneven off to probably the right, being in the right-handed world, right? If you're left-handed, it could be the other side, but the world's still right-handed. But yes, right, whatever it is, just being imbalanced off to one side, almost always the right, at least for give or take 85% of human beings. Then when somebody makes you nervous, whoa, you know, you're already opening your mouth, you're already speaking, basically. You already have like projection happening because you can't mechanically close your own jaw. So you sometimes people just feel like they can't stay quiet. They feel like they can't hold their tongue. That's another thing, you know, that's a phrase meaning like don't speak, like don't talk back, don't have a comeback, you know. A lot of these things, heard correct to a degree, aren't even people's fault. You know, you don't know what you don't know. You can't be held accountable for what you don't know. If your body's being physically, chronically, meaning life-lasting unless addressed, damaged by what's physically placed on it, being our clothing, you know, enter In the Image Clothing Company. We give the actual true fixes to these things. Then yeah, you can't actually keep your mouth closed, and you can't actually keep your mouth shut as far as not stop talking. A lot of people can't. Yeah. Okay. But your whole body's damaged if your jaw is. It stabilizes the entire thing. So it comes from clothing. Speaking is a physical thing. There you go. For the dogs, that's what I'm saying, you know, they might just be barking a lot because, well, picture this. You're a dog, but you're horizontal. Human beings are vertical at the spine. Dogs are horizontal at the spine. Dogs are the same thing, though. Sternum, spine, trachea, jaw, nose, all in the center. Their jaw stabilizes their entire body. Same thing as us human beings, but horizontal rather than being vertical. If we were bent over at our hips, at our waist where we bend, right, where our tops come down to, where our pants are sitting above, right where the legs come up into the pelvis or the hips, we bend horizontal and we're just entirely flat. I just won't go all the way down because I'll be out of the frame of this camera. We had a collar pulling weight down on our neck. Watch what our jaw would do. It would push the jaw forward and open our mouth. So dogs can get dehydrated because of this, and dogs can bark more because they're just already open. Like what I was saying with human beings, already having their jaw open, like they're already mid-conversation when they're not saying anything yet, and then they just feel like they can't hold their tongue because they can't hold their tongue physically to the roof of their mouth where it naturally sits, because that's kind of what's stabilizing the body as well. Well, no, that is part of what's stabilizing the body with this whole discussion that I always explain when I talk about the jaw stabilizing the entire body and all the musculature that's doing that. One of those things is the tongue sitting in the roof of the mouth, actually, and within those teeth up there. It's a strong muscle. It's got a little bit of suction there, and it just sits nicely in the teeth bed of the top teeth, and that stabilizes our body. That keeps us just working properly. It's as real as it gets, man. Clothing's the only fix. No claim. It wouldn't matter if we had a clothing company. It'd still be the truth. It's not like a sales pitch. No. But without trying to make a sales pitch, that's why we have In the Image Clothing Company clothing. That's the only reason I'd ever make a clothing company. Well, yeah, truly. Okay. Dog products as well. I mean, dog collars will just be light, minimal, and centered, you know, in all the ways that we just put the intentionality behind every product we would ever put out, for these reasons, right? For dogs as well. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And we can get into that in the Image Clothing Company Poodles. We'll talk about this stuff for life, right? So stick around. But this is beautiful. Shout out to Kilo's Slobber on my arm. Yesterday I made a video titled 50 push-ups every day for 30 days. For the next 29 days as of today, I will be doing 50 push-ups a day. Not necessarily documenting it. I don't think I'll even make another video about it. not even at the end of it, but just to kind of see. And a big part of it is also to see what will happen right when I stop. Okay, the human body's only normal. A video we have under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, and it's just the truth. There's only a normal to the human being. You work out all you want, you can gain musculature size, you can gain hypertrophy, right? Size to your musculature, but once you stop working out, it'll all go back to how it was before. And so it's kind of on both ends. Let's see how much musculature I gain just from, you know, doing 50 push-ups a day in these 30 days, but then also we'll be able to see there's only a normal to the human body. Once I stop, it'll go back to normal. Okay, so there you go. Today's the 6th of October, 2025. Shout out to fall. Shout out to this beautiful state of Utah, the United States of America. Stick around for Poodle Parade events. Stick around for Nita. She'll come soon. I don't know when soon is necessarily, but my first stand-in poodle, right? She'll be the start of all this when it comes to us actually owning poodles, and then we'll have a lot. We'll do a lot with poodles under In The Image Clothing Company poodles. So thank you. Goodbye. Yeah.